Hello, everyone, and welcome to week 1 of the Aegis Marauders League. My name is Tokibi. I'll be your host for this evening, and joining me is Quaxon. How are you doing today?
I'm doing pretty good, Toki. Welcome everybody to a new week. I know it's only Tuesday. Hopefully you had an all right Monday, but we're here to make your Tuesday just a little bit better with some League of Legends action and the inaugural week of the Aegis Marauders League, brought to you by two teams that one of which is an organization that we covered last week on Immortal for Titan, Toki, and then the other a team of some scrappy players that just kind of got meshed together here. I'm not familiar with a lot of these players, though I do know that one of the players is the brother of a fellow caster Slayer, Kites, the AD carry for Team Yippie.
Yeah, so with that, let's just introduce them all together. We have Team Yippie here, and it is going to be insert a best name. Top lane, Dark Lord 70 in the jungle, Bites in the mid lane, Kites in bot lane, Imp2 in support, Tringe as a sub, and I do believe they have an E-sub coming in today for the top lane. Inting Chungus is going to be playing, but they're on the broadcast. Let's introduce their start lineup anyway. But what are your thoughts on this team, especially Kites? You said it's Slayer's little brother.
Yeah, I mean, this is a team, like we said, I recognize some of these names. Like, I think I've seen Dark Lord around in the AML from time to time. Obviously, I know Kites from being related to a good caster and a good friend of mine personally, Slayer, right? But other than that, not super familiar with a lot of the guys here on Team Yippie. But yeah, like you said, it is going to be an E-sub in the top lane, so it will be Chungus. We'll leave the inting out of it until proven otherwise, Toki. We'll be a little bit nicer here on the broadcast.
Yeah, for sure. But now on the other side, we do have DropDeadGaming Genesis coming in. Steel City Warrior in the top lane, Vertigo starting jungle, but today TH3 will be filling in. Optic Waffles in the mid lane, Geico in the bot lane, and Waros on support, with Violet being the other substitute. So I believe these are some players you definitely know, Quack. So what are your thoughts on this roster?
These are players that we know, but this is also an org that we know, Toki. I mean, we covered these guys last week when we were on the Titan Immortal League. So I'm really looking forward to seeing what DropDeadGaming can produce when they are out of the league that they're, I think, really known for running. They're one of the most successful organizations in Titan, but now they're putting their feet in a different pool, a deeper pool with the AML. So I'm really curious to see what they're capable of here in this league and over the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, but I mean, I still expect them to make a very strong showing. I mean, at the end of the day, AML definitely has a slightly higher cap. I believe it is 800 LP compared to the 600 there. But this is still, it's only 200 LP. I say only, but it can make a difference. But they always perform incredibly well. So this is definitely a team that I think everyone should be keeping their eyes on. This is a team that, especially them themselves, they expect to perform. So they're going to have a lot to prove here, and I think they will definitely be able to do it.
Absolutely. And I do believe that it is going to be Yippie on the blue side, DropDeadGaming Genesis on the red side. So kind of taking a look a little bit more granularly at the players here on these teams. If we're thinking about looking ahead here, Toki, and what these players might try to pick up, I do kind of want to compare the junglers. I know the jungler on the broadcast wants to talk about junglers, Toki, but hey, it's my comfort zone, my friend. But I think that it's really fun to actually compare and contrast the champion pools that these guys have at the forefront of their OP.GGs. You look at someone like Dark Lord, who I think is really good on the standard stuff, right? You've got the Volibear, the Viego, the Xin, the Pantheon, the Wukong. These are junglers that have been around the meta for basically the entire 2025 season. His biggest pocket pick and his most popular champion, though, is that Zac. So having that engage, having that mid-game prowess, and the ability to really create space in fights could be useful to them if that one isn't banned away. Obviously, like I said, his most played champion. But then you kind of go down a little bit. You go to TH3, who has a very different read on the meta, Toki. His two most played are Nefiri and Nidalee. So he's a big fan of animals, maybe a zookeeper IRL, but this guy really likes to go for the more carry-oriented style, likes to have his team play around him. And so I'm really curious to see how these two different styles collide with one another going forward.
Yeah, and it's also going to be interesting about how the teams have practiced with it too, because it's a very different style to be practicing with, kind of having someone to enable the rest of your team and having someone that kind of wants your team to enable them. Now, if they were able to practice with both these junglers, I think this could be a very strong weapon moving forward throughout the season, because at the same time, it makes it really hard to kind of prepare for them. Just prepare playing into this team overall. It's going to have a lot of different draft implications. And in case you guys haven't heard, by the way, we are going to have a slight delay on draft, just a couple of minutes though. So hopefully we'll just be able to talk our way right through it until we start.
Yeah. There's plenty I feel to talk about with these teams, with these players. It's week number 1. Toki, get hyped for the start of the new Aegis fall season here in 2025. I think another interesting champion pool to talk about when it comes to these players is going to have to be the mid laners as well. I think that Waffles and Fights have very interesting champions pools, because you look at Fights, this guy plays things like the Vlad, the Aurora, the Corki, some of these more, lower ranged champions that need to get a little bit of scaling under their belt before they can really become threats in the skirmishes. But then you've got someone like Waffles, who goes for things like the Mel, goes for things like the Hui, the Lux, and the Syndra, and likes to play from range. So I think that this will also create a really interesting dynamic. We talked about the priority and what the different junglers could do with it, but the priority really is going to be generative through that mid lane and what these guys decide to pick up in their matchups.
Yeah, and having the extra range, as actually we are going to be starting draft, so we're going to be just heading right into there. But yeah, there's a lot of different champions that they could definitely look at, and I'm wondering what they're going to be prioritizing during this draft. Now, we have seen across a lot of leagues, it's usually jungle preference over in the early part of the game during the first couple of phases. I do think that's going to be the case for this league as well.
Yeah, for sure. I think that with Yippie on the blue side, we're probably expecting to see a lot of counters to what they want to go for in B1. And we talked about this last week on Thursday, Toki, when we were casting for Titan. We said that oftentimes in these like Masters to Platinum leagues, one of the biggest commodities that you can have, especially when you're on B1, is having that flex pick, right? The ability to go for a character, insta-lock it in, and then shroud where it's actually going to go in mystery. And looking across the board at the Team Yippie players, I feel like the best thing you've got right now has to be some of those fighters in the mid lane. You've got Fights being able to play things like the Corki that we mentioned. Kites can do the same thing. So if you want to just insta-lock that one in, Corki is still, I think, a viable B1 threat and something that they could conceal as the draft goes on and really get DropDeadGaming Genesis guessing on where that will actually end up.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a possibility. And I was actually going to bring up the Volibear as another one, as DropDeadGaming, they're going to be banning that themselves. But Corki is a very interesting pick. I think it's definitely dropped in popularity in the mid lane at the very least. But like you said, if they want to just force something to be a potential flex, I think it definitely is one of, if not their single best option, really. One interesting thing that I am noticing, though, is there actually isn't that much overlap between the pool for their top laner and for their jungler, and which is pretty rare. Typically, we do see at least some of these picks kind of being able to be played across both of these roles. So it will make it a little bit harder for them to find their picks. But with the bans right now from DropDeadGaming, it looks like the jungle is just going to be targeted out anyway. And Aurora is the final pick there. So overall, 4 jungle bans between the two teams.
And Aurora as well is like a flex pick. You could go for that in the top lane. You could go for that in the mid lane. It's dropped off a priority with top just a little bit more, but it's a good answer into some of the more tanky champions like Sion, who have really dominated the meta thus far. Corki, though, is still open for Team Yippie if they want to, go for that flex pick, but instead going to go for the Jarvan. So this isn't a flex pick, but I do think that this is a very proactive early game jungler, and this is exactly what we said someone like Dark Lord really likes to go for. These more traditional engaged junglers that can really skirmish and scrap when joined up with their team. It also does mean Corki still is on the table, right? You can go for that hot pot combo, add a little bit of spice to it, and blow up DropDeadGaming Genesis as the game goes on.
Yeah, and it's instantly going to be replied with the Wukong there. And I'm not sure if either of these two players do play Orianna, but that is a combo we saw last night on AVL. Honestly, works for both of these two teams. So whoever wants it, it's definitely going to be up in the air. DDG will have first pick at it if they do want it here. But yeah, as usual, just going to be locking the junglers first, and the Rumble in the top lane. Very interesting to pick blind.
Yeah, I think this is also a denial because it's really good paired up with Jarvan. That hot pot combo, like we said, the equalizer can be a really good pairing up with that cataclysm. So good move by DropDeadGaming Genesis here. I think that this also complements the Wukong Cyclone nicely. He wants some form of engage, and I think that the equalizer is a little bit more non-committal, but still can give him the damage necessary to have Team Yippie scatter and running if they aren't prepared for that engage. As Team Yippie are going to go for their second and third picks. The Ashe is going to be joined up here, so some pick potential, and I have to think that with this one locked in, it means Team Yippie are probably going to put a little bit less onus on playing for bot lane. This usually is one of the AD carries that gets weak-sided in the current meta, along with something like a Sivir, who is a little bit more popular, but has different strengths, obviously. And I do think that the support should predict it to be something like a Bard or something along the lines of roaming, being able to leave the lane and really join up with the top side.
Yeah, very interesting. But even with that, it's also going to be Sion in the top lane, who is also one of those top laners you do kind of weak side. And especially with the Rumble, I mean, we've all seen those clips of Rumble with that magic pen just one-shotting tanks basically with a combo. Makes it a little bit harder to play into, but Sion obviously should be able to survive at least for a decent while.
Yeah.
But it does
Sion is a good counter.
Yeah, it does make it an interesting question where they do want to play with this Jarvan, because that is typically the champion you play kind of early to mid game on.
Yeah, I think once Rookern is unlocked here for the Sion, he should have a very easy time just surviving the lane. Even before then, it's pretty difficult for Rumble to find these one-shot angles without jungle assistance. So along with this Karma, you know, we talked about the roaming potential of supports, and I do think that Karma also fits that bill. So we should be expecting Waros to get a little bit more action up in the top side along with his team, as we are going into the second phase of bans here. I do think that it would be wise for DropDeadGaming to just double ban the supports here. You obviously have engage with the Jarvan and some follow-up with the Sion, but I do think that you're wanting to take away those engage supports like you talked about, Toki. Some of those that can roam up, some of those that can follow with the Jarvan flag and drag, especially those mid lane combos that you talked about could also be snapped away. Something like the Orianna, even the Talia, I think would have a lot of value just trying to deny, but they're going to go for the double support ban. They're going to go for the Nautilus, go for the Leona, and Team Yippie, I think, just concerned about taking away those AD carries, because as it stands, there's a lot of magic damage for DropDeadGaming, but nothing in the physical department.
Yeah, but it is interesting you bring up the Talia, because Fights doesn't have too many games of it in solo queue, but does have a 73% win rate on it. And for anyone that's watched the LTA championships in general, we saw how scary Ashe Talia can be.
Yeah,
that combo is insane. If you're able to just land the arrow and no one can cleanse it off, you're just going to die. The Talia is just going to knock you right back into the team. Everyone's just going to be able to combo it out over top. So could definitely be a very strong pick for Yippie right now, as we do see the Zeri locked in for DropDeadGaming Genesis, and they have a lot of carry ability on their team. But do you think they have enough crowd control in frontline? Because right now it's basically just the Wukong and Rumble.
I really don't think the front line is there at the current moment. I 100% agree with you, Toki. I think that if they want something with a little bit more frontline potential, you would be really wise to draft something like Galio here. And you talked about and called the Orianna earlier, so that'll be locked in. Galio is one of the best answers into Orianna, in my opinion. So I think that this would be the champion that you as DropDeadGaming Genesis really should slam at this point. But then the Alistar kind of throws you for a curveball. I mean, you have a bunch of good ultimates here, so you could go Sylas. But again, if you're playing around this Zeri and you're playing around trying to buy space for her and her to be the carry, I think that Galio would probably be your best answer if you wanted that front line and CC that you talked about.
Yeah, and I think, like you said, Galio would be a great pick. Sylas gives a little bit of front line, obviously not a tank, but it's another bruiser, can tank a little bit of damage for the team, has a bit of healing, and maybe the Karma shields with the Inspire is going to be enough, but I'm noticing some pretty interesting opposite issues. I'm wondering what your thoughts are, because from what I can see, Yippie, plenty of frontline, plenty of tankiness. Do they have enough damage? And it's the exact opposite problem on DropDeadGaming. So what's your read on these two drafts?
I think really for DropDeadGaming, the biggest challenge for them is going to be playing Protect with that Zeri, right? Because Zeri is a champion that in lane really likes to go aggressive. We always see them go for the flashes, go for the ghosts, and that combo allows them to play a lot more up in the laning phase, but doesn't do a lot in the wake of safety for them if they're trying to pop off in a team fight or really go crazy. in those 5v5 skirmishes toward the late game. That means that one wrong step, one toe out of line for Geico, and he could find himself with a gray screen. And the comp doesn't really do a lot in the wake of protection, like you said, Toki. You don't have a lot of frontline. You don't have a lot of ways to get this guy out of danger if he does find himself in a pickle. So it really is going to be on the Zeri to protect themselves and make sure that they are buying the space as an AD carry to really free fire in these fights.
Yeah, going to be really interesting to see just which team's going to be able to come out on top here. But before we do go over to a short break, I would like to give a very quick shout out to our friends over at Zen Market. And Zen Market is your one-stop solution for buying products directly from Japan. They'll help you buy items from over 10,000 shops in Japan, as well as place bids on auctions on your behalf. They'll even consolidate all your items safely into one box and can ship internationally. They provide excellent customer service in 19 languages, which is why Zen Market is trusted by over 2 million users worldwide. Click the panel below the stream or click the link in the chat to try them out now. And if you sign up with promo code Aegis, you'll get 1,000 yen off your first international shipping fee. And also, if you decide to make a purchase on Zen Market, use code Aegis25 to get 25% off. And in addition, Zen Market has leveled up the fan experience by giving one of you a chance to take home a Nintendo 64. Type exclamation mark giveaway in the chat and enter now. Thank you for Zen Market, and we'll be back after the break.
これ着てみたいな。
ここだって衣装の数がこんなに。
迷っちゃいました。ウィッグをお探しです。
リボンの種類が豊富なんですよ。見ます？どないしよう。空のことを助けなあかんのに。待って。いろいろ教えてくれるのは嬉しいけど、大事なのは空。このキャラのアニメ版の衣装が欲しいんだ。サイズはこれ。ウィッグは大丈夫。うん。
Dark.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back. We are here with game number 1 between Yippie and DropDeadGaming Genesis. Now, this should be a very solid match here, and is there anything to watch out for in the early game, Quacks?
Honestly, I feel like when we're looking at these teams and the early games that come with them, Toki, we really do have to be on the lookout for this Jarvan. We talked about the importance of being able to snowball on this pick, and you brought up a little bit of a valid concern over the draft, which was the lack of damage that this comp can really put together once the game starts to roll around that mid to late game phase. And I definitely agree with you. I think that in order to circumvent that weakness, you're going to need to have this Jarvan be proactive in the early game, get your lanes ahead, and just get that snowball rolling as soon as possible before damage or lack thereof really becomes an issue.
Yeah, but now we're seeing both teams kind of posturing, trying to get their vision through. They did manage to get the Raptors ward on the side of DDG, so they do have that. It was spotted out by M2O, so Team Yippie is well aware of it. But Dark Lord 70, okay, just putting in the word. For a second, I thought it was going a little bit aggro there, but yeah, trade vision, so both sides will know where the junglers are going to be, at least for the first rotation.
But he placed that word really late. That means that he can't really be assumed to have crossed over to the other side of the jungle. And by extension, also means that the rest of DropDeadGaming Genesis should assume the Jarvan starting on that top side. So we're going to be having mirror clears here. And in the draft, we talked about the importance of making sure that DropDeadGaming played around this Zeri, got them good conditions, and Geico ahead of the curve in these first few minutes. And so I really like to see TH3 already pathing toward that bot side, though. The Jarvan, like we said, could try and get there sooner, maybe skip a camp and prevent that from happening.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely going to be opportunities for both these two junglers, but the Jarvan typically does have a bit of an easier time with those early ganks, kind of isn't as reliant on the level 6. Obviously, the Wukong really wants that Cyclone to have that knock up, really letting the rest of the team push in. But interestingly enough, we are just going to be seeing the waves bouncing back and forth in the bot lane, in the top lane as well. Inting Chungus managed to get it to crash onto Steel City Warrior, so no major advantages anywhere, but it doesn't look like there's also any real plays that are going to be coming out of the junglers anytime soon. So I think you're right. Bot lane is probably where the next play could happen, as though, as I say, that M2O going to be trying to run down Geico, but just going to be able to dash away to safety. So no one going to be going down there, but Waffle is fighting with fights, and there's definitely angles available now.
There definitely is, but both of these junglers now getting onto around their 5th camp.
Waffles flashing in, but goes underneath the turret and fights. Gonna be able to get the first blood now. Headbutt pulverized in the bot lane. Geico starting to get it run down. They already have the Rangers focus going through. The barrier comes through, and it is going to keep Geico alive, but that is going to be barrier for Ignite over in the bot lane.
Really, really unfortunate timing there for Waffles. So hang on, Impromptu.
Yeah, it should be okay for now, but instead they're going to go aggressive, and Woro's starting to get slowed down. Heals and flashes away, and the Frost Shot is just so powerful as the Inspire has to come in as well. Woro's almost going down, and Team Yippie getting a lot of big trades in the bot lane. I think Team Chunga is forced to flash away just from the Electro Harpoons.
You can see Dark Lord level 4 to TH3's level 3, so he'll pick up that crab. Geico now, a dive possible here on the bot side though. TH3 is still in the area. Waffles is also roaming down. They don't really have an extended timer to do this, so they just have to get out of dodge before something bad happens.
Flash forward and Steel City Warrior gonna be able to get the solo roll in the top lane now, helping to pulverize onto 2. TH3 still looking to play aggressive. Geico even coming in. Kite starting to take a decent amount of damage, but as per the namesake, just gonna be able to kite backwards. It is 4 versus 3 now in the bot lane. Is TH3 even going to be going back in? And the Mantra Q almost able to take down Kites, but Dark Lord 70 did tank it. And no one going down in the bot lane, but Steel City Warrior will get that solo kill in the top.
So Yippie playing a little bit on the edge there for the bot side, but I think the really big thing is how many resources were missed by Waffles in that mid lane. He gets solo killed, goes down to the bot lane, isn't able to get anything there, so Fights is able to push that entire wave in and deny so much gold from the Sylas. We talk about the importance of the Zeri being able to be that late game carry, but the Sylas, I feel, is equally as important with how many ultimates he has to steal that are valuable.
Steel City Warrior.
Oh, hang on again.
Just gonna be running down, hitting Chungus, and Decimating Smash is gone as well, but without the overheat, not gonna have enough damage to finish off the kill. But Steel City Warrior definitely starting to bully Inting Chungus on the top side, but Dark Lord 70 is in the area. TH3 is a little behind. And it looks like
Really
they are going to be going into the top side, but there's also going to be a gank going on to Fights. Have the Inspired just trying to get the slow the tether as well. It is going to get the root, but Waffles does not have the cooldowns to follow up on the play.
He doesn't even have to flash. He doesn't even have to click ult. He's 2 levels up over Waffles just now. He gets that level 6. So really, there's nothing that Waffles can throw at him at the current moment that really can scare Fights off of this wave. They get Waros to try, but now the Karma is sort of forced it back to that bot lane to care for that Zeri. See if they can get more resources into it. So now it really feels like a dangerous thing here for DropDeadGaming in the mid lane with how behind this Sylas is and how little help can actually be extended by their teammates.
Yeah, no, the one kind of silver lining there is Orianna is not really the champion that is known to be able to punish super heavily in terms of one shot, in terms of kill potential. Can definitely zone Waffles away from more CS, but eventually the Sylas should be able to come back into the game. But with the tempo the way it is, I'm wondering if Team Yippie is going to be able to kind of abuse the fact that they have this massive lead over in the mid lane.
And I do wonder if now that the last chapter is there for Fights, he'll be able to shove in that wave and maybe look for some roams down toward the bot lane to try and get Geico on this Zeri a little bit, you know, behind on this pick. We can also see that Dark Lord is in the bot side, so doesn't quite have that Cataclysm unlocked yet. I think if he can get that second crab on the bot side, he'll get that ultimate. I think it's 2 full clears plus a crab. Gets you level 6 as a jungler, so he's really going to be wanting for that camp. As he pings in the mid lane.
The top side, and another gank over towards the mid lane. They are looking for Fights. The Abduct is going to be there, and Shockwave to return, and Waffles is the one that's starting to get low. And 1v2 kill for Fights, but in the top lane once again, Steel City Warrior. And now TH3, you went too far, and Fights just going to be able to get the 2v1, 2 for nothing.
And Fights is putting on an absolute clinic in the mid lane, baited toward the bot lane. Waffles has not been able to recoup that loss in gold, and now Dark Lord, it's an easy kill.
Yeah, just gonna be able to pick that up, but that's not gonna help Inting Chungus. Inting Chungus doesn't even get the assist from that.
Yeah, so Inting Chungus gonna miss out on a little bit of gold, but I think it is such a valuable thing for Team Yippie. You can see that both their threats are starting to brew now. 7.5 minutes in, a lot of that gold was on to Steel City Warrior, so to see him get sort of stopped in his tracks at this point really is good for Team Yippie later down the line. But Fights is just running rampant in this game. No one has been able to stop this Orianna, and now the grubs are up. That lost chapter is there still for the Orion. I think he should be able to get Prio, join up with his top laner, and really control space in these rivers.
Yeah, definitely. But we're seeing Kites getting zoned off so much of this wave. But instead, they're actually going to be going in, and Channing Cristolero going to get burned. But Geico flashing forward, has a lightning crash. Needs a little bit more damage, but Imto trying to block it. The flash over the top, but Geico is still going to be able to get the kill. And now Imto is alone, will get the headbutt onto Geico. And with the focus resolved, they will be able to get the tether onto Imto as well. Not going to be able to get the kill, but meanwhile, on the top side, Dark Lord going to be able to get the grubs for the team Yippie.
There's a little bit feels bad, man, for Kites and M2O. They were trying to break the freeze that had developed in the bot side, so they overextend themselves. They get into a fight, and Geico with the barrier plus the Karma shields. It's just too much for this Ashe to handle. So it is going to be a kill going over to the Zeri. Finally, that win condition is starting to get accelerated. It already was a little bit with the CS difference that it's generated here, 58 to 79, but having that kill acts as the cherry on top and gives DropDeadGaming Genesis yet another lane that they can start playing for, because as it stands, Toki, this mid lane really isn't working out.
But now the abduct is there, Cyclone as well, and the stolen shockwave and fights this time around will get taken down. TH3 gonna be the one to get the last hit. But that was a very, very needed play for DropDeadGaming.
Yeah, absolutely. They get fights taken down, get a little bit of a caster curse in there. Finally, the Orianna is felled in this game. And because they get that mid priority, because the biggest threat for Team Yippie is off the map temporarily, they're going to transition that into a dragon. So 1-for-1 on the objective front. Obviously, we saw Team Yippie go for those grubs, but they did not get the full stack. They only got
They're going to be fighting for this. Dark Lord looking for the flag and drag, but Waffle's going to get away. And now really far in. Dark Lord is all alone, and Waffles just going to be picking that kill up. Now it's going to be 4v3, but they do have the ultimate advantage. They still have Unbreakable Will and Shockwave. But without the jungler, they're just going to give it up, and that's going to be the dragon going over to DropDeadGaming.
Dark Lord, I think, just going a little too overzealous in that fight. Flashes over the wall after using Flag and Drag and Cataclysm, so really has no way to get back to safety. Jumped off the cliff without a parachute, metaphorically, if you will. And I mean, he goes splat at the end of the day, as does the dragon. So it is going to be DropDeadGaming. There were a couple of questions on whether or not they would get that objective, but at the end of the day, it does belong to them.
Yeah, they definitely did a very good job trying to defend into it. And look at the amount of wards they have right now around Dragon for DropDeadGaming. I'm counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 wards. I mean, they definitely saw what was coming in that play, but now Waros might not have seen this coming, because Trample's going to be there, flashes away, but it's just going to get stunned up. Flag and Drag as well, and that kill just going to be handed over to Kites. So that's going to be a big play, and a very big play to get Kites back into the game. But they could look for more. Ico. Yeah, they're immediately going to get started, but TH3's in the area. They need to get this kill in now, and they're going to be able to get Geico. And with the Unbreakable Will, Imto going to be able to just tank up the turret. Huge plays coming out right now from Yippie, and they're going to keep going. Pulverize, flag and over top. They have the clone, they have the real one. Trample for the stun, and Kites on a killing spree. 3 kills, 1 by 1 in the bot lane, and Team Yippie, they're back in the lead.
And Team Yippie with the plays on the bottom side, they go for not 1, but 2 dives under the turret. I love that decision making coming out for them, and now Steel City Warrior.
Yeah, starting to get underneath the turret. I don't know if they'll have enough damage. I think Chunga's not going to have too much more, but that's a lot of HP taken off of Steel City Warrior.
Yeah, Steel City Warrior forced to back there. Doesn't have the teleport either, so might miss a couple of minions on this incoming wave. Actually did manage to clear that out, so maybe won't miss a ton from the wave, as Chungus is gonna cancel the back.
Yeah, I don't know if the damage is there for Chungus, though. Steel City Warrior gonna flash away from the decimating smash, gonna play forward. I think Chungus flashing away as well, but the overheat is gonna be there. And Steel City Warrior just gonna be able to get another solo bolo in the top lane. 3-1-0 on this Rumble.
And now 2 levels up as well. I mean, he's level 11 to the level 9. You can see Dark Lord is trying to make an aggressive play on the top side like he did earlier on in the game, but just because TH3 is there, he doesn't want to overextend himself, risk turning that into a 2-for-1. Will inevitably back off. At the moment, though, battle lines seem to have been drawn in this game, Toki. 13 minutes. We got about a minute until the plates drop, so I don't expect a ton of gold that is currently standing to be generated before that happens. Right now, it really feels like the win conditions for Team Yippie are clear. You've got your Ori, you've got your Ashe. They are both 3-1 at the moment, but on the other side, this Rumble 3-1. And even though Geico went down in that turret dive, this Zeri is still 20 CS up over their counterpart. So that does close the gold gap between these two a little bit, and I think still puts Geico as a viable carry for his team.
Yeah, without question. And Geico going to be scaling really well into this late game as well. So they should have a pretty solid power spike. Dragon spawning in a minute and a half. Going to be interesting to see who both teams send in. But once again, in the top lane, Steel City Warrior, now with a full complete Leandri, is just really starting to bully down Inting Chungus. 3/4 of that Scion's HP just for less than a quarter of that Rumbles. This is starting to get very painful for the Scion.
Yeah, it's really been a difficult game for Chungus here, as now I feel like we really just have to keep our eyes glued to the bot lane. You can see that Dark Lord is maybe wrapping around for an angle, does have the Cataclysm.
Yeah, and Headbutt Pulverized combo not going to be coming through, but Waros is stuck in the Cataclysm. No flash for a little while. Enchanted Crystal Arrow, and just going to get run down. Kites now on a rampage 4-1-0. Waros will be back for the Dragon, but that's still a huge play to get for Yippie.
Yeah, absolutely. They're going to be able to push this wave in as well, which means that those players on the side of Team Yippie should be able to get a clean back ahead of that Dragon that you mentioned. It is going to be the Ashe picking up their first item, the Kraken Slayer, going to go in their inventory. So a big item spike for both AD carries, as you can even actually see, even though Geico went down, he now has the Yuntal Wild Arrow. So I do think this is a Dragon that both of these teams are not going to want to give up. They're going to want to fight for them. But looking at the waves at the moment, it does favor Team Yippie because they get that kill. They push in those waves. It forces the side of DropDeadGaming Genesis to play catch up before inevitably moving on into that river, which could give Team Yippie the opportunity to maybe spring a trap with this Flag and Drag or this Alistar.
Yeah, but one scary opportunity. Steel City Warrior is level 12, has TP. So this is a very, very strong Grumble, and Steel City Warrior gonna be TPing in. But I'm wondering who's gonna fight for it, because looking at the pings, it looks like they're just gonna give away this Dragon. Yippie's just happy to trade it for the top side. They're happy that Inting Chungus has some space, but I'm wondering if DropDeadGaming will just let them take this Herald as well.
Waffles is going to be forced to teleport to the top side so that Chungus can't go for that turret by himself. Kites is all alone here. I mean, Imtuo is here as well, but yeah, there's no one there.
Flashing in with the Cyclone. Imtuo looking for the Hellbutt Pulverize, not going to be able to get it because of the Cyclone. So it is just going to be the 1-for-nothing dive. Now another wave is on the way. I don't know if they can re-dive an Alistar who has Unbreakable Will, but definitely still a big play for them.
I don't really think that they have to. That would be over aggressive in my opinion. I mean, they get the AD carry, they deny all the CS from the Ashe, and I feel like that at the end of the day is good enough. You rebound with your waves and get your members back onto the map just that little bit stronger. Steel City Warrior,
but Steel City Warrior is going to throw down the Equalizer with the Flag Drag. Not going to be able to get the knockup, but the Shockwave will be there. They should get a little bit more damage on the Cataclysm just to keep fights alive. And now TH3 diving onto fights. Who will flash away? Another Flag Drag is going to come through. Now Inting Chungus able to get one kill. Will force the flash off of Waros immediately as it comes back up. And it's another 2-for-0 for Team Yippie.
And I love the proactivity that we've been seeing from Dark Lord on this Jarvan. We talked about the importance of that in the draft, Toki. And even though it was a little bit delayed, we didn't see a lot of action from this pick in the first 10 or so minutes of the game. He has really stepped it up over the past 7 or so minutes. He has been on the map, going for those bot dives, looking to cover his mid laner. That proactivity is generating the side of Team Yippie a lot of leads, and we'll have to see what they can do with it going forward.
Yeah, and the gold is in all the right places too, and even Inting Chungus actually gonna be able to get the first turret of the game there in the top side. So yeah, we can now take a look at the goldie there. 1.4k in the mid lane, about 400 in the bot lane, and the top lane definitely still behind, but with that turret it's only 800 gold difference. And actually massive lead in the jungle, not one we've really talked about.
Yeah.
But Dark Lord is up almost 800 gold as they try to do math on stream, but pretty sizable lead. And they got feats with that turret.
Yeah, for sure. Really shouting out Dark Lord here in these first 18 minutes. This Jarvan has been so omnipresent for the last 9 or so minutes of the game and has generated so many leads for his team. We'll have to see what he can do going forward. He does have that Herald, so you have to believe that the next time he goes for a pick, somebody on the side of DropDeadGaming base checks, he will immediately Herald and look to extend that.
It's going to be coming through, and they're looking towards Dark Lord. The stolen Cataclysm is going to be there, and it's just going to force the flash from Dark Lord. There's no objective here, but it looks like both teams just really want to control over that side brush.
But you can also see that, I mean, DropDeadGaming, in their haste to try and make something happen, they're forsaking a lot of these side waves. You can tell that Dark Lord...
But now Dark Lord taking a lot of damage, Cyclone over top, but they're just going to turn onto TH3, and TH3 taking a lot of damage, but so is Kites, and with this Cataclysm, not going to be enough. And in the meanwhile, there's a shutdown over the side lane. The Steel City Warriors solos out fights, and no kill going to happen over in this mid lane, but Kites got super low, and definitely priority going to be gained by DDG.
That's really big for the side of DDG, because now Steel City Warrior is going to be able to push this lane in and has the one grub, so maybe she can get this first tower. I think that top lane one is still pretty healthy, because despite ending Chungus's scoreline and how many times he got solo killed in the lane, at the very least he kept his tower pretty safe. So I think Steel City Warrior is smart to not overplay his hand here. He is just going to take that reset, get that second item. It will be the Shadow Flame. I'm actually interested on why that wasn't the Bloodletters. You have a decent amount of magic damage threats on your team, and there's a lot of tankiness on the side of Team Yippie. So we'll be interested to see how that 90 AP flat deals into this tankier comp. But we can see Inting Chungus is just doing the Bowson style.
Yeah, but now the unstoppable onslaught gonna be stolen. So those actually two unstoppable onslaughts, both kind of canceling each other out. And I'm wondering if that's because of the lane assignments they're setting up right now, because it does seem like Steel City Warrior is going to be matching fights, whereas they're going to be sending Waffles to match Inting Chungus. From that regard, I think that might be better with the Shadow Flame, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, I think the flat AP will be better when dealing with the Orianna, but now we're going to have to be dealing with a Dragon. So far, Drop Dead, even though they're behind a little bit in the kill department, the same cannot be said for the Dragons. This would be sole point for them 21 minutes into the game, so you best believe that they are going to chuck everything that they have into this bot side objective. And I do think Team Yippie are going to do the same. We can see a teleport from fights, and both of these teams, they're gearing up for the classic, Toki.
Yeah, all 10 members are down here setting up for the Dragon, but first move is definitely there for DropDeadGaming, but they have the Herald for Yippie, and they're going to force the play out immediately. Now Waffles already stole the Shockwave, and they're going to be going in right now. They're looking for Darker, but the Shockwave went back onto 3. The Storm only lands on the Kites, but Kites is getting kited out in the back line.
What are you doing,
Darkwood is already gone. Kites just trying to space glide, but the damage just is not there. And the rest of the team, Geico just free hitting the entire time. Imturo, no damage going to be going down. Inting Chungus alone versus 5 is going to be a double kill, and it's going to be a 4-0 for DropDeadGaming as they get the third Dragon of the game.
And this is the kind of dilemma that we talked about for the side of Team Yippie. They just don't have the damage, Toki. They're not able to go for these extended fights. It is DropDeadGaming Genesis who get the snap engage off and are able to win out on the fight. They will claim their sole point. And all the while, M2O is doing drift donuts in the bot side river parking lot while his team is getting torn asunder.
Yeah, I mean, this is just so rough for them, man. We talked about it before. This scaling definitely favors the side of DDG. This area is going to be the main character if this game just keeps going further out. But if you're on one of those scalers and you're up 314, up 38 CS, that dream's gonna come by even sooner. So DDG, they're looking really, really strong, and they're on sole point. If they get that extra bit from the Ocean Drake, they're gonna be in a perfect spot as now fighting a little bit with Optic Waffles. There is no turret here until tier 2, so they're gonna continue chasing guys. M2 also getting run down at the same time, and just gonna be forced to go in. And meanwhile, in the bot side, Optic Waffles just needs to land the abduct, not gonna be able to. And will be able to get the lane just over the blast cone. The flash is going to take fights back out to safety, and they will survive. But meanwhile, the Cyclone going to be coming out over top onto Dark Lord, and China Crystal Arrow will be there to maybe save Dark Lord. And with Inting Chungus there, they will be okay. But that's still even more tools going through, as now Kites is getting jumped on and will be getting finished off by Geico. How did this happen? DDG just winning everywhere at the same time from nowhere.
Their champions have scaled, their breakpoints have hit. DDG Genesis are on a line, and it feels like the effort that
And Waffles gets a kill.
on. Dark Lord just goes down in his own jungle, and the Otacon will soon precede him. Thornborn Otacon going the way of DropDeadGaming Genesis. This game flipped so quickly.
But did Waffles overstay? They do have 2 tanks trying to get enough damage, but Waffles trying to jump over, not going to be able to, and doesn't have flash anymore. The abduct not going to be there. The trample is there for the stun, and now with fights there, they should have enough damage to gonna try and give the kill back over, and it's going to be a shutdown going to fights, but the Otacon was taken in the meanwhile, but at least it's something for Yippie.
Feel like the damage has already been done though, Toki. I mean, so much gold was generated for DropDeadGaming Genesis over the course of these last 5 minutes that the question becomes, in a team where you are starting to get outscaled, how can you claw your way back into this game? I think a lot of people would say you simply cannot. I think your one hope has to be in fights. This is an almost 3-item Orianna. If you can just continue to juice him up, maybe he can make something happen. As Inting Chungus, you know, usually when we see people go for those teleport plays, they're like, they're teleporting to like Antarctica. They're going far away. But this guy just teleported to like Ohio at the furthest. This man went to the next street down the block.
Yeah, just took a very slow and elongated flash over further down into the bot lane, but it did give the objective bounty, it did give the turret, but it's still just a tier 1. It's not going to have that much extra gold coming in for the team. And I'm wondering if that's just desperation coming in from Inting Chungus, just trying to get something going for the team. Because now that TP is not going to be online when Soul is going to be spawning. So this is going to make the macro a lot more difficult.
Yeah, I think that teleport plays are going to be really difficult. I'm glad that you pointed that out, especially with a dragon coming up in a little less than 90 seconds. This is Soul for the side of DropDeadGaming Genesis. I think teleport plays or some flank hang up.
Gonna get jump on as well and just immediately burst away. Waros is the one that's gonna get the last hit, but I don't think they care too much. As long as Kites is out, that's a ton of damage that's gonna be missing for them.
And now this just makes their job so much harder. They'll be able to claim this mid turret. That'll be all tier 1s taken down as we have a really elongated fight here on the top side, but we can also see Dark Lord maybe wanting to get involved here.
Yeah, Dark Lord is in the area. Waffle still trying to trade bit by bit, is winning out, but Flag Drag is going to be coming through now, and the Decimating Smash is not going to be enough, but it does have the stolen ultimate, not going to be able to run away, so Inting Chungus is going to be able to get that kill over on the top side, and that's Waffles, who's not going to be there for the spawn of the dragon, but all 5 members of UP will.
It's going to be about 13 seconds for him on the death timer by the time this dragon comes up. So there could be an angle for Team Yippie to claim some vision while that happens. You can see that Imp2O is doing his best to try and dig in the trenches before this Drake spawns. But because they took those resets, they really aren't going to have too big of a head start over their counterparts. If they can try to rip the dragon, they can delay the stalling, but nothing I feel can be guaranteed for the fact that DropDeadGaming may just look to kill them after the fact and go on Baron.
Yeah, but M2O trying to zone them away with Inting Chungus. They do have that beefy front line, but they could choose to fight after, and that's what they're going to do. The Equalizer going to come out over top. Do they have enough for the chase? M2O might end up being the sacrificial lamb, but meanwhile, in the backline, TH3 is going to get traded right back. So it is going to be a 1-for-1 sword, but Optic Waffles in the backline. They're going to find one, but it's still just chaos coming through. And it's 3 members down on Yippie. Fights still trying to kite away, but Steel City Warrior and Waros both still chasing forward. A lot of shielding, a lot of move speed, but Fights still fighting hard, trying to keep them away, but is on the wrong side of the map. Waros just continuously going to be scouting out Fights, and now Fights walking right into Steel City Warrior. A little bit of extra speed, and Steel City Warrior on a rampage. Massive team fight victory coming in for DDG.
Really good stuff there for DDG. They don't get the dragon, but they do get a bunch of kills afterwards. But honestly, I still feel like that is a big win for the side of Team Yippie at the end of the day, because not only do they deny the soul, they stall out the members of DropDeadGaming Genesis long enough to the point where that Baron that is up on the top side, they still can't go for it. They found two, but the rest of the remaining members that live to tell the tale out of that inaugural part of the fight chased down fights for so long that they can't actually look for a cross-map play. They're going to set up around this top side, but by the time they would hit the Baron, if they choose to do so, the Orianna would be back up with teleport and shockwave.
And they took down Geico. That's the other big thing. I think Fights was the one that got that kill, and there was a massive shutdown on this area. Was 5-1-7 prior to that death. So that's going to be a ton of extra gold going into the Orianna, and we're even seeing almost has that completed death cap. We've already seen how much damage they can do with the death cap or without the death cap. Once they get it, it's really going to change up. But now the Baron has been pulled. It's already at half HP. They've scouted it out, but can they even get there in time? Optic Waffles has a Cataclysm, just trying to zone away Dark Lord, and the Baron is going to be going down. But what about the fight afterwards? Cyclone lands onto a few, but Lightning Crash happening in the backline as Kite's just slowly getting run down. But with the Kite, almost is able to, but Seal City Warrior going in now, chasing after Fangs, who flashes away. But meanwhile, on the backline, the entirety is going down as Geico with the quadra kill. It's going to be an ace coming through for DDG, and it's going to be a 5-for-1 plus Baron.
And Team Yippie, they're just too late to realize the Baron being started up. Fights is too late to the fight. The Orianna was not a relevant piece on the board. They're too late to stop this Zeri. 10-2 and a Geico can help you save 50% or more on car insurance, but he cannot save you from this L, as he will deliver it instead. 1-0 in favor of DropDeadGaming Genesis.
And what a game that was, because that was close. That was neck and neck up until that 12-minute mark. Because right after that point, right after that dragon fight, that's when everything turned. They got the 3-0, they got everything they needed, and then they were just able to win across every single side. Then I mean, DDG, once they got that small lead, they just exploded that game.
Yeah, DDG, once they got those breakpoints, just really felt like a different team. I think that oftentimes we talk about teams in competitive play, just in every facet, Toki, that are a little bit shaky in the laning phase, maybe don't have those maybe don't have that cohesion set up in the first 14 minutes to really be an effective early game team. But post 14 minutes is just a different story. Those teams are a dime a dozen, and I feel like DropDeadGaming Genesis certainly fit the bill of a team like that. Once they started grouping up, making plays as a unit, they really turned it on, and they never turned it off.
Definitely not, and we'll see if they're going to be able to carry this momentum into game number 2. But for now, we're going to go to a short break, and when we come back, we're going to be heading straight into the draft, so don't go anywhere. And we are back for game number 2 between Yippie and DropDeadGaming Genesis. And like we were talking just before we went to break, very close game 1 until it wasn't. What are you hoping to see for game number 2?
I think the big thing is just more damage, right? This was a comp that needed to get the ball rolling really, really hard in that early game, and they got the ball rolling. It's not hard enough, right? It was like when you make a snowman and you're trying to make it big enough to where like your little sibling can't like climb over the big one, but it's just not enough, and then they end up being able to topple it nonetheless. It's a weird analogy, but I still feel like it sticks. And in this game number 2, we want to see some of that transition into that late game, right? We want to see a late game threat brew here in the draft and really be played for, because clearly I think one of the big strengths for Team Yippie is understanding the assignment, understanding who to play for. They really got that fights was their win condition in the early game with that 3-0 start on the Orianna, kites as well, getting that triple kill with multiple dives under the tower. It just felt like that wasn't able to transition enough to a win con post 15 minutes. So if they can just draft a little bit stronger for the late game, I do think the chances of us going to a game number 3 Toki pretty damn high, if I do say so myself.
And they are going to be on the red side this time around, with DDG being moved over to blue. So maybe this extra counter pick at the end will be that difference maker. Maybe it will give them exactly what they need, kind of that X factor to enable them to win out through game 2, maybe play more through the late game, or even maybe just having a lane that just wins so much harder that they're going to be able to win just straight through that one lane. Because like you said, they played really well towards fights in the mid lane. Fights got ahead really early. We were worried a bit that they would be lacking damage, but because of how strong those carries were, that wasn't a big deal until DDG was able to just delete one of them right at the start of the fight. And then one carry definitely isn't enough.
Yeah, for sure. So I do think that Fights and Kites played a really good game number 1, and their champions just kind of faltered in damage, fell off a cliff as the game went on. So I think if you could stick them on something a little bit stronger for that late game, they should be able to get the side of Team Yippie over the finish line here for game number 2. But for the side of DropDeadGaming, I feel like the biggest strength that they did have came in Steel City Warrior. I felt like he had a really good time on that Rumble, especially in a matchup that normally doesn't favor Rumble. I think Sion is one of the best counters to that pick, and usually puts Rumble in a position where he can never really solo kill Sion early, simply because that champion is just a little too tanky. He got multiple solo kills. So I do think that if they can give him a good matchup here on the blue side, they can really play through that lane and get themselves another win.
Yeah, but some of the first picks already coming in. We see Corky for DropDeadGaming. You were predicting that for game number 1, but should still be a very solid flex here for game number 2. And then the Maokai locked in first for Yippie. Now, I'm assuming this is most likely going to be a jungle Maokai. I think support Maokai is definitely less and less popular, but Jin locked in for pick number 2. So once again, Kite's going to be on a more of a utility AD carry.
Yeah, but still has a decent amount of late game threat. That crit shot can do a lot of damage if he's put under the right circumstances. So Team Yippie certainly is a utility AD carry, like you say, Toki, but can act as a carry under the right amount of attention here. As DropDeadGaming on the blue side now, what are they going to go for 2 and 3? I would imagine we'll see a jungle pickup here. Yeah, the Trundle, a good answer into the Maokai, just having that ultimate, that subjugate, to be able to steal away the stats of this frontliner here for Team Yippie. Going to be really valuable, especially because of the true damage from Corky. I mean, they'll really start shredding a lot of these frontline threats in tandem with the Trundle in these early game skirmishes. I wonder how much they're going to play into that, as Syndra is actually going to be blinded here for Waffles. Now, Waffles did definitely have a rougher time in the laning phase when up against fights, so I do think that a pick that he is clearly more experienced in, as I am looking at his op.gg, Syndra is number 4 in most games played, could serve him really nicely. This is also just a champion that I think fits the power curve of DropDeadGaming, where you have the scaling, but you also have a little bit of early game damage to go along with it, especially if you're rocking that electrocute.
Yeah, definitely. And they're going to be able to delete someone off the map immediately. If they're able to catch out that Jin, that's just an easy one shot. As we're seeing the Ambessa blind picked in the top lane, and we've seen this strategy across many leagues. You take Ambessa as pick number 6, or really whatever top laner you want, and then you just use the next 2 bans to kind of clear away those strong counters. Because top lane typically is one of the harder lanes to play into a counter matchup. So this should make it quite a bit easier for the Ambessa, but now we're seeing from DropDeadGaming, they're going to ban out the Talia.
Yeah, Renekton.
Yeah,
I actually, yeah, the Renekton ban is really good. It's one of the best counters to the Ambessa. Yasuo as well, I think, is a preferential pick for Steel City Warrior. And based off of how well Steel City Warrior played that game number 1, you really don't want him on comfort champions going into game number 2. So I'm glad that they take that one away. And the question kind of becomes, I would assume that they pick up a mid laner and maybe just save support counter pick for 5, as DropDeadGaming Genesis have yet to reveal their hand for a support. So it is going to be that Victor, a very, I would say, mellowed out laning phase here. Obviously, there is some early game skirmish power from both of these picks. I think the Syndra more than the Victor, but the real appeal of these champions does come in that late game, right? You get that execute on the Splinters of Wrath, you get that Chaos Storm and all those upgraded abilities. That really is the breakpoint that you're looking for. So I don't expect a ton of attention to be paid in this mid lane. Really what I'm looking at right now is that bot lane. You do have the Jhin, you do have the Corki. Jhin obviously not used to being played around, but like we said, you do need to get these early game balls rolling so that they can really get to that late game and carry you later down the line.
Yeah, and you were talking about this before the draft. You wanted something late game. Victor definitely going to be able to fulfill that. They're going to have a ton of damage and actually a lot less frontline right now too on DropDeadGaming. So they're going to have more than enough damage for that. But a final 2 picks for them, it's going to be the Nautilus and the Jace. Now, Nautilus, obviously very one-dimensional character. Engage, go in, go, go, go. That's really all Nautilus does. Jace, very difficult to play, and this is also most likely anyway going to be a top lane Jace into the Ambessa. So that's going to add a lot of volatility into that lane. So I'm wondering if the junglers, you said there's not going to be much play in the mid lane, but I think there definitely could be an opportunity in the top lane as we see the Morgana last pick there for Yippie.
Yeah, I like this pickup a lot. Obviously, the Victor is going to be in the mid lane, so this will be a Morgana support. We've seen Morgana rise in popularity over the last couple of patches due to those buffs to the Tormented Soil, but I'm wondering how that actually is going to transition in the support role, because usually this is a mid laner, or at least that is the lane where she really benefits from those buffs. And this is also a matchup where I think she would really benefit. Syndra doesn't have a ton of threat to Morgana in the early to mid game. Obviously, once you get that execute, the picture kind of changes, but this should help alleviate some of the worries that we had for Kites, most notably that Jhin is immobile, very prone to getting caught out by a dredge line, by a scatter the weak, and the Black Shield should be really good for making sure that he stays safe in a lot of these skirmishes.
Yeah, and we're going to be just kind of watching to see just how they're going to play through this, because kind of like you said, not only do they have the opportunity for the safety, but the Dark Binding is so good on offense. And they even have the Deadly Flourish coming from the Jhin. There is a lot of lockdown. Pair that with the Maokai as well. If they're able to find someone out in this bot lane, it could even be the Nautilus, because I think they have more than enough lockdown. And Maokai does a lot of damage early, especially if it is going to be that pseudo AP build, at least for the first item. They could just kind of burst down through there. So And we are back for game number 2 between DropDeadGaming Genesis and Yippie. If DropDeadGaming are able to win this, they will be able to close out the series 2-0. But obviously Yippie, they're not going to let them. And this time around, they definitely have a more well-rounded draft. So level 1 seems like pretty basic 5-point defense for both these two teams. But I wonder if there's going to be any kind of early engagements.
I don't expect to see too much coming out from either of these teams. I mean, Moros is on the Nautilus, and I feel like there's some kind of code that Hook champions have at level 1 where they have to fish for something, right? You can't just be cordial and do nothing when you have a tool like that to fish for picks here in the first couple of minutes. But he's actually not going to abide by whatever made up code I'm using. He won't look for a play, and it's just going to be both of these teams being pretty stock standard here, 5-pointing in the next few minutes, but that gives us time to set up some of these win conditions here, Toki. Like we talked about in the draft, a lot of onus in this early game is going to have to be on these top laners. You can see the Ambessa is rocking that grasp. The Jace as well, a decent counter pick into the matchup, but also going for the electrocute. So we are expecting to see a full lethality damage Jace build here, and that does need to be nurtured here by the Trundle. So I want to see TH3 pay his dues toward that top lane and get this ball rolling.
Yeah, I mean, it could definitely be a massive player to get going. And we saw in game number 1 on the Rumble, Steel City Warrior got a huge lead and was definitely able to grow. It was definitely able to utilize it for the team as well. Now, yeah, it's a little bit harder to do with the Jace, being able to transition into team play, but I think Steel City Warrior could definitely do it. So it could definitely be a very strong place to gank.
Honestly, even if you are side laning the entire game, if you gate the Ambessa as the primary engage here for the side of Team Yippie, they lose out on a really big source of snap engage for themselves. So I think this Jace's main job is to just make sure the Ambessa isn't able to join up in these fights. Yeah,
definitely not going to land though. So no play going to be found there, but very close one.
Definitely can see as well, both junglers pathing toward the bot side. We talked about the importance of these bot laners getting ahead for the sake of the late game and those top laners kind of acting as those bridges. There's a ton of CC from both of these supports. Obviously, you've got the Dark Binding from Im2O and the Dredge line from Waro. So good amount of setup, and that can be followed up with the respective CC from these junglers and could be and should be enough for an easy kill. Meanwhile, though, the top laners don't really have a lot of CC. So I have to think that is the reason they are both pathing bot. As aggressive play actually from TH3. Yeah,
they're looking for M2, but the Black Shield is going to be there preventing the root coming from the passive, but they're still going to be looking to potentially steal away this Gromp. A lot of damage coming through on both these two sides is in the top lane. Steel City Warrior once again just going to be taking down Inting Chungus, at least very low. Now, they should be able to secure this Gromp for Dark Lord here, 200 HP, but they're going to be threatening the blue buff instead, and all 4 members of DDG are going to be here. They're going to steal it away, and now they're going to be looking for Dark Lord, and Dark Lord forced to flash away as Waro's taking a lot of damage on the backline as well, but now
Kites is alone.
Looking towards Kites, and Fights is alone versus the Trundle. TH3 just trying to run it down, has the Ice Pillar. Does he have enough damage? And with the flash, Fights is going to be able to back away. Somehow no one goes down there, but the blue buff is stolen by DDG as Inting Chungus is forced to flash away.
But it's a lot of flashes burned, and particularly for the side of Team Yippie. Chungus, Dark Lord Fights, all forced to burn that summoner spell, going to set up TH3 for a really good and proactive 5 minutes where this Trundle can try to make so much happen on the map. You can see this top lane is about to get really bloody. Dark Lord is in the vicinity, but that wave is crashed, so I don't actually expect a kill to be, you know, veering its ugly head here at the end of the day.
Yeah, I mean, both of these two players definitely playing out their limits right now, just trying to find any little advantage they can over their top lane opposition. But we are seeing, even if the HP bars are even, the CS is not 31-20 right now for Steel City Warrior. So this Jace is definitely having a very solid time in the top lane.
Yep. To get there.
Oh, but they're going to be going for Fights. Pillar not going to be well positioned. No Dredge line going to be able to come in, but they're going to try and steal away this Raptor camp instead. And I think Dark Lord may just have to give this.
This is one of the difficulties of playing with something like a Victor, right? I feel like the same can be said for Syndra because these are both immobile mages. You burn that flash and they're kind of forced to just be under their tower until that summoner spell is back up. This will allow the respective junglers to make aggressive plays. Speaking of aggression,
yeah, I think Chungus very low. Steel City Warrior just gonna flash in and take that first blood. Will be going down in return, but at least some minions are gonna be lost. And I believe Steel City Warrior will also get the money from that plate. So overall, slightly in favor of Steel City Warrior.
I would go as far as to say that's really in favor of Steel City Warrior, not slightly. I mean, he crashes that wave, so the entire encampment there is going to be lost for the side of Inting Chungus. Now he's also going to be forced to, with an item disadvantage, mind you, push up. That crashing wave will slow push, and he'll be right into the waiting arms of this Jace, who is more than willing to trade into him at this point that he has that Dirk. Now we're turning our attention to the bot side. Dragon is up, and TH3, like we said, you burn all of these flashes, you force all of these members from the side of Team Yippie to stay under their tower. You are now the person controlling the proactivity of the map.
Yeah, they're going to be first on the spot. The TH3 is starting to get low, though. This is the Cloud Drake. Very, very strong in terms of damage. But Kites and M2 getting zoned away by Rose, and Geico gonna Valkyrie over top, but Fights might be able to get in the area, as meanwhile they're just going down on all sides. Geico will be finished off. M2 will be able to get the last hit there, as now over and towards the top side. Optic Waffles is gonna get hit. Arcane Storm over top, and that's going to be a kill going over towards Fights, and Fights should be able to find TH3 as well as M2 trying to survive, and the extra health is gonna come through. Dark Lord starting to get low as well, and Waros with the dredge I'm gonna be able to trade it back. So everything said and done, it is a 3-for-2 in favor of Yippie, but the Dragon does go over to DropDeadGaming.
But still, based on how that fight was set up, it should have been all DropDeadGaming. They were first to the Dragon. They had the setup. There were so little flashes on the side of Team Yippie as well. It didn't feel like their conditions were even remotely close to what DropDeadGaming were going into that skirmish with. And yet they are the guys that end up walking away with more kills. Sure, they don't get the Dragon, but they still get gold allocated, particularly into their top side. And I feel like a big part of that is because of M2O. He was hitting those dark bindings on key targets, locking them down and allowing for his team to deliver the damage. So really good stuff coming out from the support of Team Yippie, and it gets them back into this game in relative proximity to their counterparts gold-wise.
Yeah, they're only down 300 gold, but look at how aggressive they're playing, and Dark Lord forced to flash. Somehow the support and the jungle and the mid lane all inside of Dark Lord's topside jungle makes it so frustrating to play when you are that jungler. But just these rotations are so strong, and they're gonna get started on the on the grubs right now, as M2 and Kites could look to take down Geico in the bot lane. And one more auto is all that's needed, but it's gonna be traded. So Geico definitely in a bad spot, but will be able to get one of those kills back.
Honestly, that's pretty good for Kites. He was 2 levels down compared to Geico and really was suffering in the laning phase. So being able to go for that 1-for-1, especially with M2O pushing in that wave, will mean some loss of resources there for the Corki, despite getting that kill. But he's really the only one losing resources, as it feels like DropDeadGaming Genesis are just much more proactive in this early game. That Strundle is doing so much more in the first few minutes, and this is kind of an inverse of what we saw from game number 1. Dark Lord on the Jarvan for that first match was the one making things happen, but now it feels like it's TH3 who's making all the plays in this early game. Now he's invading the jungle.
Yeah, and they're gonna continue getting the chomp on a Dark Lord. No flash on this Maokai, and Waffles with the unleashed power just gonna be able to take that out, and they should be able to steal away this move buff at the same time. As down the top side, Steel City Warrior going to be trading quite heavily with Inting Chungus as well, and they're both starting to get within kill range. Oh, but now Public Execution going to be coming through, and Inting Chungus changes their mind midway through the play, just going to flash out. Steel City Warrior's damage is nothing to be scoffed at, especially with that serrated Dirk, so could definitely be in a bad spot, and Steel City Warrior will get that kill anyway. I think Inting Chungus might have kind of outplayed themselves in that play.
Yeah, Inting Chungus with a bit of a real-time dilemma there, goes in for the public execution and then immediately flashes away saying, oh, hell no, I'm out of here. As now,
Yeah, but they
City
do have the
Warrior.
Nature's Grasp, and Steel City Warrior should just be going down to the Bramble Smash. It is a pretty big kill, but it is just a Maokai at the end of the day. Definitely doesn't scale too much in terms of damage. And again, Inting Chungus doesn't really get anything from that.
Kill should be, oh, hang on, nope, we're not done yet.
Bot lane M2 gonna be the target, and a lot of damage coming back onto Geico, but not enough. Just gonna be the kill for the Corki. 2-2-0 now, and with a level and a half lead, I believe, for Geico as well.
Geico starting to get some resources as this Corki obviously went for that 1-for-1 earlier, but gets himself his first kill at 1-for-0, I should say, on that bot side. So we'll be getting really close to that first item, and you can also see that a lot of the members on this map are starting to get to that first item breakpoint. I think Dark Lord, off of that kill on the top side, should also be getting his Leandries, which will make those saplings really threatening. But we're about 30 seconds from Dragon. That means that the Maokai is going to have to reset, walk all the way to the bot side, and won't be able to really set up and dig the trenches in toward this objective and place those saplings and make it dangerous for the enemy team to walk in. So it's just, again, DropDeadGaming Genesis being that much more proactive, pushing those waves and getting to the objective sooner, making it their territory and forcing Team Yippie to walk into them.
Yeah, and they're gonna get this setup around the Dragon. Only the one ward right now for Yippie, just slightly over
They're
the
so
wall.
scared to face check.
Imto could be the dangerous spot. Will get pulled back in. The dredge line will land. That's all that they needed. Geico gonna be able to get the last hit there, and that should just be the Mountain Drake going over once again to DropDeadGaming. They had full control of the Dragons in game number 1. It looks like they're gonna have that control again in game 2.
And it feels like we just go back to what we said a couple of seconds ago, Toki, where they are first to the objectives. They are setting up that much earlier, and they make it so that Team Yippie have to face check into them, and Imtuo goes down. He is a product of that setup, or should I say a victim of that setup. Is now, like you said, it's second Dragon plus the Grubs. They are getting all of the neutrals in this game.
Coming through, and they're gonna have the curtains called as well. And Waros is gonna be the target. Tries to flash away. The Bramble Smash going to keep Waros alive. Instead, they're gonna turn their attention on to Geico, but Waros getting hit over in the backline, and Geico actually going in forward. Waffle's gonna be able to take down M2O, and now Dark Lord will eventually be able to finish off Geico there. But it is a 2-for-1 in favor of DDG. That anti-synergy, so unfortunate.
I'm tilted for kites. I'm tilted for kites. That is such a tilting play. Dark Lord Bramble smashes him out of the way and denies the kill for his ADC. Waffles arrives in time to decimate the remaining health bars.
And he's gonna do it. Steel City Warrior gonna get another solo kill in the top lane. Might even be able to get the turret. 50 CS up as well. Steel City Warrior just dominating in the top side.
Duo is here, so Steel City Warrior does get a little bit greedy. Maybe the Morgana can make something of it. Does have that ultimate, so doesn't actually have to aim, but this Jace has a lot of damage. Let's see if he can outplay this.
Yeah, I mean, definitely trying, but no, will be more than enough damage as Waffles gets a solo kill in the mid lane, and in the bot lane, Geico's gonna be able to take down Kite. So somehow that still ends up being in favor across the map for DropDeadGaming, and it doesn't seem like they can do any wrong at all.
This game just feels like it is more one-sided than the first one. You look across the gold differences between counterparts, and particularly that top lane is so daunting. 5,800 gold for Steel City Warrior, and not even 4,000 for Inting Chungus on the Ambessa. Such a rough position to be in, and especially as the soul or one of the big engage tools.
TH3 gonna get rooted up. They're deadly flourish as well. They have a lot of damage, and Kites just needs one more hit with the fourth shot. Will have enough. As now Waros is still alive, but Kite's on the wrong side of things. There is a blast cone, but it will get procced by Geico. So Kites is going to be going down, and meanwhile on the rest of the fight, Waffles is actually the one to go, and Kites is still alive and trying to make this play happen, but Geico will at the very least be able to pick that up. But that's a 2-for-1 for Yippie, and I think they will definitely take that. And in fact, Waros might also be the next target. Next Dark Binding should be coming up. They will be able to land. A Dark Lord is in the area. Do they have enough crowd control?
Oh no.
And with a twisted advance into Bramble Smash, World's gonna get one, but it's still a shutdown for M2O. Make that a 3-for-2, but in the top lane, public execution immediately. Inting Chungus wants to fight this, but Steel City Warrior gonna take the tier 1 turret as Inting Chungus once again gonna try and flash away.
And this is what we talked about at the beginning of the game. Realistically, for Steel City Warrior, you're not looking to team fight. You're not looking to TP down toward the bot side. You're looking to just go for the 1v1 and prioritize your own conditions. But now I think it's going to get really interesting because we've gotten past the 14-minute mark. Plates obviously have dropped, and coming out with the gold lead is DropDeadGaming Genesis. So I feel like Steel City Warrior has to start roaming with his team, making these plays with them. And now, speaking of plays, Waffles maybe wanting to solo kill onto fights.
Yeah, Waffles going pretty far into this though, but now Arcane Storm over top, Unleash Power, not going to be enough, but M2O is in the area, and that's just going to be kind of an unforced error. Waffles stepping up a little bit too far.
Yeah, Waffles probably not also anticipating M2O to be there as the Morgana, so it's jumped on at the wrong time, but it's not without a cross-map play as DropDeadGaming do secure that grub. They should be able to just use this to bridge priority with the dragon coming up in about a minute. That mid lane turret is really low, so there really isn't a reason to use that to break open that part of the map.
They're going to be fighting. Grass going to be coming through, but the dredge line also lands at the same time. M2O looking with the soul shackles onto Waros, and Inting Chungus is here, and curtains are called, but Geico just Valkyrying in, completely zones away Kites with Waffles, and with the stun, they're just going to be able to finish it off. And now it's going to be a 5v4, but the health bars aren't the healthiest. Waros going to be the next to go down. Meanwhile, on the top side, Inting Chungus going to get finished off there. But everyone is still quite low. Geico Valkyrie away, trying to kite everyone back. But again, the twisted advance will be there. But Optic Waffles presses R to win. And that was enough for that fight for now. But M2O still alive, still trying to pick up all of these fruit, trying to have as much health as possible. And with a Torment as well, will they both go down? Geico's still alive. Will be able to get the kill. But it is traded back by Dark Lord. And Steel City Warrior just showing up to clean up. And I don't even know how many kills both of these two teams had, but so far it's in favor of DropDeadGaming. I think that was a 4-for-3.
I mean, they get the Herald placed down as well. I believe it took down that tier 2 mid, so it is going to be them for sure winning out in this fight. But a huge, massive respect salute goes out to Geico, spacing in that fight perfectly on the Corki. The flash over to the Wolf Pit to isolate the Maokai was a really good play, but at the end of the day, it will be the prize of Soul Point given over to DropDeadGaming. You could talk about these score lines and the little intricacies of that skirmish all day long, but the reward is all that matters.
Yeah, and once again, they are going to be on Soul Point. Could get it 22 minutes as Waros might be getting chased down here, but just barely gets out in time. That deadly flourish, if that land, I think Waros does go down, but at the end of the day, even if they get it, it's just a support. They're still going to be down 6k. They're still going to be down 3 dragons. So it's a very, very dangerous part of the game coming in for Yippie.
Yeah, it absolutely is. Yippie really don't have a big answer to this Syndra, but they're going to try and answer it with Ambessa, but this Syndra is not alone.
And they have Scatter the Weak as well, and they're going to use the Subjugate, and the public execution not going to land. So Waffles just going to be able to take this kill for themselves. But now Steel City Warrior trying to play aggro and fights are almost going down, but will survive on almost no HP. And now it's Dark Lord trying to chase Steel City Warrior, but knows that they lose that fight.
He absolutely does not win that. I mean, fights getting out with the skin of his teeth as we were questioning as, hang on.
Oh, but now M2O with the Soul Shackle, but Scatter the Weak going to be enough. Smart enough to break the shield before going for that, but TH3's in the area as well. They could look for the dive. Scatter the Weak will land, and the chop, the flash chop, not going to be enough. Will go gold, and Dark Binding does not land though, so Geico just going to come in and get that kill, but Steel City Warrior still in the area. May have gone a little bit too far. We'll get the tier 2, but we'll give the kill over to Fights.
I mean, even though you get the kill, look at how much you're sacrificing. You're basically surrendering control of that top side that is just owned by DropDeadGaming. And even Steel City Warrior getting that tower, I feel, makes the trade even at the end of the day. So really good stuff there from the Jace, recognizing that his own demise is imminent and that he is going to go down swinging, and he swings at the turret to break it. We see the Otacon coming up in about 15 seconds here. Will spawn on the bot side. And once again, DropDeadGaming, just every time they're first to the waves, they're first to the area. Optic Waffles is already pushing out that bot wave to give his team priority ahead of this objective.
Yeah, and we saw there briefly as our producer showed the gold leads. 4K in the top lane, 4K in the bot lane. The jungle is ahead, Dark Lord is ahead, but Maokai's not a carry. Maokai's not going to be able to use this gold. I mean, all the gold is in the perfect places right now for DDG, and Waffles is still ahead, even if it's not 4K up. So this is a very, very solid support point for them. But now, fight starting to break out all across. Optic Waffles is going to get stunned up. Dark Binding lands as well. And Fight not going to get the last hit, but Dark Lord is going to get the kill. And now Dark Lord is getting turned upon, but now the Soul Shackle is there. They have the curtains called, and it is a double kill for Dark Lord. But now Geico's here with 10,000 gold. Will take down Kites. And Steel City Warrior once again getting the solo kill in the top lane. And now it's going to be 3-4 against 3 on the map. But with Geico alive with Steel City Warrior, I don't know if they can fight this.
I mean, they do have TH3 down for another 20 seconds, so there is the jungle advantage, but look at how low Dark Lord is, and now Steel City Warrior, I think the threat of this Jace is going to scare them away from even attempting to start this Otacon, so that objective is still around.
Not gonna lie, but look at the damage from Geico. Look at Steel City Warrior. The two of them just coming in and wiping the map clean. They're gonna get another 2 for nothing, and now TH3 is back. They could look for the Otacon.
No jungler, no problem. It is DropDeadGaming dropping the bodies of the Yippie squad here. 26-18. Geico on this Corki is 11, 4, and 5. He is dominating, not just in this game, but in this series. Game number 1, he also had a stellar performance as well. And this as well is going to be taken 40 seconds from the Dragon. This would be Soul for DropDeadGaming. So they're just getting all of the neutrals. They have had a monopoly over those objectives here, Toki.
Yeah, and I mean, even with all the objectives that they got, especially with the Otacon, we already saw the damage that Steel City Warrior can bring out. We saw the damage Geico could bring out, Optic Waffles as well. And that was before Otacon, before they got all of the flowers on the map. Now they're going to be even stronger, their burst potential even higher. This is going to be a very, very difficult fight. But do you think they even take this on Yippie? It is Soul.
It's a lose-lose situation for Yippie. I think if you give this up, you are surrendering the game. You have to fight.
The Drenchline is going to be there now. Death Turn as well, but M2 in the meanwhile, Soul Shackle onto everyone, and they're actually turning this fight. Chaos just Geico alone. They do have the curtains called over onto Geico, but no follow-up yet. Arcane Storm will deal a little bit of damage, but it's actually 4 versus 3 left on the map. But Steel City Warrior gonna take the 4th shot as well. Deadly Flourish not gonna be able to land anything else, but again, Steel City Warrior's alive, Geico's alive, even 4v3. They may still have the gold advantage right now on DDG, but Dark Lord trying to approach, but Geico's just not letting them. Look at the damage this Corki is dealing. So they will be able to have control of the Dragon, and with TH3 and Warriors respawning, as Geico actually going to be going in, may have gone a little bit too farther because now Fights in the area, Kites will be going down, and Geico will get shut down by Fights. So again, 4v4 on the map.
Waffles
is looking for the play. Unleash Power not going to be enough. This is the Maokai, and Dark Lord might be able to just heal back up with that passive, at least enough to contest, as M2O will dodge away from the Scout of the Week. TP coming through, and M2O in a bad spot. The Dark Binding not going to last. Steel City Warrior just able to get the 1-shot kill, and Waffles still trying to stay alive, but the Scout of the Week buying enough space, and Inting Chungus is just getting run down by TH3 and Waros, as now Dark Lord will dodge away the Shock Blast, and it's just going to be Fights trying to get the 2 of them back. Steel City Warrior is low, Waffles is low, so is TH3, but they are the ones with the control for now, and one comp from Steel City Warrior would take down Fights, and it looks like they're giving up. It looks like the Dragon is just going to be going the way of DropDeadGaming.
I feel like if Yippie can't win that fight, what can they, Toki? Because you had such good conditions there. Waffles, he was forced to use his ultimate, not get a kill off of it. Warrior was really low in the health bar department. You had taken down TH3. The only person healthy was Geico, and he Valkyries forward and gets taken out. So there was a golden opportunity for them, but then I feel M2O gets caught and those chances dwindle. Their ability to go for that Dragon drastically goes down. And now it is soul unlocked for Drop Dead Gaming. This is a scary prospect, but what's even scarier is the 8,000 gold chasm between these two teams.
And I'm wondering if they just wanted to play that super fast on the side of EP because they felt that if Geico comes back, that's going to be it. If Geico comes back, they're just going to be able to clean up the fight. So they were just trying to rush. They were trying to force it. And M2O definitely, they didn't have any vision on the dragon. They didn't know if the dragon was started. So they just wanted to get vision as fast as possible. M2O just sprinting in. And unfortunately, that did end up losing them the fight. But it shows the fights can be close.
Yeah, they can. But I feel like DropDead Gaming are not going to give them an opportunity like that again. You can see Steel City Warriors on the side split pushing. The instant that Team Yippie sent more than 2 members over to deal with this Jace, I think the Baron should be started. This is just a classic checkmate move once you are ahead. That Victor is not enough to stop the level 16 Jace, you gotta feel.
Yeah, but now they're gonna be going in. Kite's getting run out immediately. Will get sniped out by the missile barrage. Now Anting Chungus trying to survive, and especially the Chemtech Soul, they're just so tanky now. And Steel City Warrior gonna be getting the inhib at the same time. Everything's really starting to fall apart now for Yippie.
Yeah, Yippie, they're caught between a rock and a hard place. They're not going to be sending anyone back to help with the base because they see the Jace crossing over. Steel City Warriors onto Chungus, but we're not seeing that. We're just seeing the Baron get melted away. Can Dark Lord steal it?
Yeah, but it looks like Dark Lord definitely wants to make the attempt. They're trying to keep them low, and they will have enough damage. Unleash Power, go to take down Dark Lord, and that's going to be the Baron going over as well for DDG. And with Dark Lord off the map, they could just push.
Waffles has teleport. All of the lanes are pushing in. The only one that doesn't have a really bad wave state for the side of Team Yippie is that top lane. I think that if Waffles wanted to, he could have teleported there to start pushing it in. Has the flash, so there is a good amount of safety for the Syndra. But they're just going to group up. They're going to death ball. This is the strategy that they have been employing all game long on those aggressive invades, on those setups for the objective. It is what has been working, and it is what they are going to use to get the dub here in game number 2.
And their team fighting has looked solid so far. I definitely would not blame them at all. Trying to keep this 4-1 strategy going. It's worked this entire game, but there is a Victor and a Morgana. So there is definitely wave clear on the side of Yippie. They could potentially make this game go on longer, but they will have to give up the tier 2 in the top lane for it. But Nature's Grasp coming in from the side. It looks like they want to force a fight, but there's just no follow-up. It's just going to be Nature's Grasp thrown out to the Wolves. And Curtis called as well. They're just throwing out the ultimates. I think they're just trying to delay the game.
But look, Steel City Warriors on the top side. You're stalling yourself out. You have to defend another avenue of your base because a Jace is just destroying it.
We'll just get taken out in the mid lane. Geico with that missile barrage does not miss. Just continuously landing them through, and there's just not enough champions on the team. I think Yippie would need 6 or 7 to be able to defend this. And even then, Geico just playing so far up. Will be forced to flash over the wall, but now Fight's getting run down by TH3. Pillars there as well, but Fights will flash out to safety. But they will lose their top lane inhib. They will lose their mid lane inhib. And they're going to need to fight now, or else they're going to lose the game. Scatter the weak lands on it too. And in the backline, Public Execution is going to go onto Chungus May as well. And they got Dark Lord. One more kill looking towards Fights as Fight just immediately blows up. They got Kites. M2O for the ace, not going to be needed. It's a 2-0 for DropDead Gaming Genesis.
And deja vu hits you and I, Toki, as we saw the 2-0 from the DropDead Gaming organization not 5 days ago over in the Titan Immortal League. And now they deliver a slam dunk here for the first week of the AML. This is the organization to watch, ladies and gentlemen. They take over so many leagues that they participate in, and they are looking to do it yet again here in the fall split.
Yeah, I mean, that entire game was so in control. Game number 1, they definitely gave a little bit up early, but then they were able to come back through their team play. They had control of the Dragons in both games, but game number 2, it was their start to finish. And the only plays that looked close was when DropDead Gaming, I think they're just having fun. Because, I mean, Geico just Valkyries into 3. Optic Waffles just kind of blind checking into bushes on their own, and it didn't even make a difference. They were still able to hard win. So, I mean, really, really well fought by Yippie, but DropDeadGaming were definitely the better team on the day.
Yeah, DropDeadGaming, it felt like they were just in control from start to finish for game number 2. Game number 1, like you said, they surrendered a little bit of control in those first 14 minutes. But I think that this team, really the big appeal to them is their team play, right? They transform, I feel, as a squad, as a unit, once they're able to make those synergistic plays with one another. They were first to the objectives every single time. They were making constant cross-map plays. This is a team to look out for, guys. If we're looking at teams that are favored to make it far in the AML season, DropDeadGaming are always an organization up there with the likes of Dorado and ID, who really can always deliver. So looking forward to seeing what this squad is capable of as we, coast through the weeks here and potentially the playoffs of AML, because I think the potential is very high.
I definitely agree. They're going to be a very solid team, but we'll see how Yippie's going to do for the rest of the season as well. But for now, unfortunately, we are going to have to say goodbye to you for the day. We are done this stream. We are done this cast. Congratulations to DropDeadGaming with a 2-0. But before we leave, quick shout out to our sponsors at Zen Market. Now, Zen Market is your one-stop solution for buying products directly from Japan. They'll help you buy items from over 10,000 shops in Japan, as well as place bids on auctions on your behalf. They even consolidate all your items safely into one box and can ship internationally. They provide excellent customer service in 19 languages, which is why Zen Market is trusted by over 2 million users worldwide. Check the panel below the stream or click the link in the chat to try them out now. If you sign up with the promo code Aegis, you'll get 1,000 yen off your first international shipping fee. Also, if you decide to make a purchase on Zen Market, use code Aegis25 to get 25% off your first purchase. And if that wasn't enough, Zen Market has also leveled up the fan experience by giving one of you a chance to take home a Nintendo 64. Type !! giveaway in the chat and enter now. Thank you, Zen Market, for sponsoring this stream, and thank you all for watching. We'll see you next week on AML.
Bro, just use Zen Market.